Victims of psychological manipulation often blame their own stupidity for being deceived for 6 months straight. But what will happen when they awaken? Traitors often believe they can ruin other people's lives with excuses like emotions are uncontrollable. We are witnessing the rise of a victim of psychological abuse. Luca Devereaux is not a healing hero. He forces her to confront her fears directly, throwing her into a room filled with those who want to devour her, forcing her survival instincts to surface. An extremely harsh yet chillingly effective psychological reconstruction program.
Get a load of this? Arya Vale is back, haunting the very snakes who tried to bury her. Just 3 weeks ago, her man publicly nuked her heart, ditching her for her own sister. That was supposed to be game over, but the script just got flipped. Walking in with her is Luca Devereaux, a name that makes this whole crowd sweat. This ain't a breakdown, folks. This is the prequel to a full-blown war. That chandelier, a 4-ton monster that costs more than your house, used to be her backdrop. Back when Arya was just Marcus's arm candy, listening to rich guy talk. But that girl is dead and gone. Tonight, that same light is hitting different, making everyone's fake smiles look extra fragile. And there she is, at the top of the stairs with her hand on the arm of the one and only Luca Devereaux. And she's not clinging to him for dear life. Her pose is pure, calculated power. Luca's voice is a low-key order, not a hug. Breathe. You look unbreakable. I haven't done a thing, she shoots back. Exactly, that's the whole play. Below them, the party is a swamp of old money and shiny things, and swimming in it is Marcus, the architect of her disaster. She can feel his eyes on her, like a creep watching from the shadows. Her sister's dagger-like words echo in her head. He was never really yours. You can literally see her jaw lock up. Control the story your body is screaming, Luca warns, his eyes scanning the room like a hawk looking for a mouse. They'll see that tension and smell blood. I'm not tense. Lady, I can feel you vibrating. She takes a sharp breath, ticked off that he's right, and forces her shoulders down. He starts walking, she's right with him, a perfect descent into the lion's den. Every single person stops to stare. Luca Devereaux doesn't just show up, he arrives. 6'3" of pure menace in a suit worth more than her car. A stone-cold killer who ends corporations with a phone call. And for some twisted reason, tonight he picked her to be his +1. As they hit the main floor, a waiter pops up with bubbly. Luca snags 2 glasses, hands one to her without breaking stride. You don't have to drink it, he says. It's a prop. Keeps your hands busy. I know what champagne is for. Do you now? She throws him a dirty look, and you can see the tiniest smirk on his face. There, he mutters, nodding slightly. 11 o'clock. Marcus sees you. Her heart's trying to escape her chest. She holds her breath before asking, And he looks like a guy who just watched his entire life savings burn to the ground. That's when she turns. Marcus is completely frozen by the bar, trapped in a conversation he's no longer hearing. His eyes are glued to her, champagne glass stuck halfway to his mouth. His face a perfect picture of shock turning into pure terror. Good enough, Arya whispers, looking away before he can recover, scanning the room like he's just part of the furniture. How you feeling? Luca asks. Like I'm about to puke. That's normal. It is? You're trying to torch a 3-year history in one night. I'd be more worried if you weren't about to hurl. They walk deeper into the party, the crowd splitting for them like the Red Sea. Some lady in emerald green totally bugs out when she sees her, immediately whispering to her friend. An old couple nods at Luca while trying not to obviously stare at Arya. She knows some of these faces. Marcus's cronies, the ones who watched her get stabbed in the back and said nothing. "Smile, Arya," Luca says on the down low. "I am smiling." "No, you're showing your fangs. There's a difference." Arya forces her face to chill out, pulling her lips into a fake, bored smile. "Better?" Luca says. "Now we make them come to us." He steers her to a clique by the windows, a group wearing their family fortunes like medieval armor. Arya doesn't know their names, but she knows their type. Marcus used to call them the core, the secret judges of their social scene. "Luca," one guy says, shaking his hand, "didn't expect to see you." Robert. Luca's handshake is one and done. "I don't usually do charity events, but someone convinced me." Robert's eyes slide over to Arya. "I can see why." "This is Arya Vale," Luca announces, his voice dead serious. "She's not my date. She's not my guest." Arya puts her hand out. As Robert takes it, you can see his brain short-circuit, trying to figure out who she is now. "A pleasure." He lies through his teeth. A blonde lady, about 50, with shark eyes, leans in. Arya Vale. Why do I know that name? A shot of ice goes right through Arya's stomach. "She's a photographer." Luca jumps in, smooth as silk. "Mostly editorials. You've probably seen her stuff in Vogue or Harper's." The lie is so huge, so bold, it's almost beautiful. Her real photography gigs are a million miles from that level. But the woman just nods like, "Oh yeah, that's right." The topic changes to some merger, some yacht in Monaco. Arya just stands there, playing her part perfectly with little nods and fake laughs. A gorgeous, silent mystery box. Her silence, she gets it, is making them desperate for gossip. After 10 minutes, Luca cuts the conversation short. They pull back to the edge of the room where it's quieter. "You did good," he says. "I barely said a word." "Exactly. You let them invent a story about you. That's how power works." Arya finally drinks the champagne. It tastes like money and regret. "I still don't get the plan." "It works by doing it over and over." "That's not an explanation." Luca stops and faces her for the first time. His face a blank slate, but his eyes are lasers. "You want the cold, hard breakdown?" he asks. "Yes." I stopped caring what they think the second I realized they're all just scared of being nobodies. "Once you get that," he continues, "everything else is just an act." Arya can only stare at him. That's a pretty dark way to see things. It's the real way. Before she can even think of a reply, a voice from her nightmares cuts through the noise. "Arya." She turns. It's Marcus. He's a few feet away, hands in his pockets, trying way too hard to look casual. Up close, he looks older, kind of beat down. Shorter hair, tense jaw, and wrinkles she'd never noticed before. Or maybe she just ignored them. "Marcus," she says. The name comes out flat and cold, like she's talking to a telemarketer. He looks at Luca, then right back at her. "Can we speak?" "We're talking. Alone." That one word comes from Luca, a figure carved from pure intimidation. Arya feels a flash of fear, but keeps her face perfectly blank. "I don't think so." You can see a muscle jump in Marcus's jaw. "Arya, I'm begging you." "No." The word just hangs there, sharp as glass. Marcus stumbles. "All I want is to. I already said no." He stares at her, and his whole tough guy act shatters, revealing a pathetic, confused mess underneath. He's been denied his big dramatic moment. She owes him absolutely nothing. "Enjoy the party." Arya says, and turns her back on him completely. Luca slides in next to her, and they walk to the terrace, never once looking back. Back inside, Marcus is left standing there, getting cooked by 100 pairs of judging eyes. But out on the balcony, the air is clean and cold. Arya just leans on the stone railing, eyes shut, soaking in the quiet. That, Luca notes, was a textbook shutdown. This win feels kind of empty. Feelings weren't the point, it's all about the strategy. She opens her eyes to the city lights spread out like a carpet. He looked small. She gives a slow nod. Perfect, Luca says. Let that sink in. It gets quiet between them, a huge change from the muffled party noise inside. Out here, it's just them and the hum of the city. Mind if I ask something? Arya threw out there. Go ahead. So, what's your angle in orchestrating this whole production? Luca paused for a beat. He shifted over to the railing, his body heat a presence beside her, close but not touching. Because I know the feeling, he finally dropped, of being completely misunderstood, of getting turned into a villain in someone else's story just to make them feel better. And I don't like it when cheap shots like that go unanswered. Arya stared him down, her gaze getting sharper. Under that perfect suit and unbreakable control, something was busted, something wild. She couldn't name it, but she could feel it. Thank you, she said. He shot her a look. Don't thank me yet. The main event hasn't even started. What was that supposed to mean? He pushed off the railing, fixing his cuffs. Your sister's in the building. Arya felt the air get sucked out of her lungs. Over by the main doors, Luca noted, his voice totally flat as he scanned the scene. She hasn't spotted you yet. Arya's knuckles went bone white on the railing. I don't think I have it in me to do this. You do. You can't know that. Luca pivoted, his eyes locking onto hers, intense and unblinking. I watched you stare down guys who get paid to find your breaking point. I saw you kick out the dude who orchestrated your downfall. You can do this. Arya swallowed hard. What if I fall apart? Then you fall apart later. This whole play needed a soft touch. Her being there just cranked up the heat. A shaky nod turned into a solid one. She gave him the signal. Got it. They stepped out into the blinding lights together. There, by a champagne fountain, was Carolyn, charming some guy in a gray suit. She was a knockout in a blush-colored dress, hair done up, a string of pearls around her neck, looking like a picture from a life that could have been. A vice gripped Arya's chest. Breathe, Luca muttered under his breath. She did what he said. They crossed the room with practiced calm, giving Caroline every chance to spot them. And she did. Her gaze swept the room, landed on Arya, and froze. For a split second, the whole world stopped spinning. Caroline's smile faltered. A tiny crack, but Arya saw it. Luca didn't miss a step, and Arya matched his perfect poker face. They closed in to about 10 feet from Caroline, a distance designed for a perfect ID, for her to clock exactly who was on Arya's arm. Caroline's mouth opened slightly like a word got stuck in her windpipe. Arya shot back a cool, ghostly hint of a smile and kept moving. In their wake, Caroline was completely paralyzed, the glass in her hand starting to shake. As they neared the dance floor, Luca tilted his head. How you holding up? Shaky. You don't look it. Perfect. The orchestra fired up a waltz. Couples started drifting onto the floor, their moves perfectly choreographed. Luca held out his hand. Dance with me. Arya froze. I'm a terrible dancer. So am I. It doesn't matter. She took his hand. He led her onto the floor, one hand on her waist, the other holding hers with a surprising gentleness. They began to move, their steps clumsy and slow, a little offbeat from the music, but in a rhythm all their own. "We're the main attraction," Arya whispered. "Let them watch." Her eyes flickered over his shoulder. Marcus was at the bar, jaw clenched, his eyes glued to them. Caroline was still frozen by the door, her date totally forgotten, her stare locked on. And for the first time in 3 weeks, Arya didn't feel like a sob story. She felt like a final verdict. "You're smiling," Luca observed. "Am I?" "Yeah, a real one this time." Arya met his eyes. They were dark and impossible to read, but she saw a flicker of warmth in them that felt a lot like understanding. "My thanks," she said again. "You keep saying that?" "Because I mean it." The song ended. A polite ripple of applause went through the hall. Luca let her go slowly, and the space between them suddenly felt huge. "Come on," he said. "We need some air." They weaved through the guests to a smaller balcony that looked out over the gardens. The music faded to a dull throb. The night air was cool and deep. Arya leaned on the railing, tilted her head back, and stared up. There were no stars, just the glow of the city poisoning the darkness. "I'm just waiting for the fallout," she admitted. "The fallout from what? From the rage, the meltdown. I thought seeing them would wreck me, but it didn't. I feel nothing. Is that a bad thing?" She chewed on the question. "I'm not sure." Luca was quiet for a long moment before answering. "Maybe the fight is just over. Maybe that's why you're here tonight. Or I'm just numb. Or you're stronger than you give yourself credit for." Arya turned to face him. "You don't know the first thing about me. I know enough." "Like what?" He held her gaze. "I know you could have stayed home tonight and let them have their victory, but you showed up. That isn't numbness, Arya. That's a middle finger." She wanted to argue, to tell him he was wrong, that she was shattering inside, that her cool act was a complete fraud. But the words wouldn't come. Because what if he was right? What if this was her? The door behind them creaked open. A couple walked out, laughing, then saw them and ducked back inside. Luca checked his watch. "We've been here 2 hours. That's enough. Already?" "The point has been made. Sticking around longer doesn't add anything. It just waters down the message." Arya gave a slow, deliberate nod. "Right. Right." They walked back inside, doing one last pass through the ballroom, just long enough for everyone to notice them leaving. Marcus saw them go. Caroline saw them go. Not a word was said, and Arya didn't glance back. The car was there, a black sedan so slick it looked like a liquid night. The driver opened her door without a word, and she slid in, Luca right after her. The door shut with a solid thud. The world went silent. Arya let out a breath she didn't even know she was holding. "You did it," Luca said. "I did." "So what are you feeling right now?" "Wrecked. Wired. I can't tell. Maybe just empty. That's expected." The car glided away from the curb, slicing through the city streets. The bright lights of the party faded behind them. Arya stared out the window, watching the world streak by. What happens next? Now you go home, you lick your wounds. Tomorrow you get up and you keep going. That's it. That's it. She turned to him. "And what was your part in all this?" "Me? What was your real reason for doing all this?" Luca was still for a second, then leaned back, his eyes fixed on something far away. I told you, I don't like seeing people get underestimated. That's not the whole story. No, he admitted, it's not. Are you going to tell me the rest? He looked at her then, his gaze direct and sharp, and for the first time, his mask slipped. Just a little, just enough. Someday, maybe, he said, but not tonight. The car stopped in front of her apartment. The driver got her door. Arya climbed out, then paused. Luca, yeah, I meant it. Thank you. He gave a single sharp nod. Get some sleep, Arya. The door clicked shut. The car pulled away, and Arya stood on the pavement alone in the growing darkness. But she wasn't broken anymore. She felt like someone who had just watched their own burial and then walked away from the grave. Arya's apartment was the same, small, messy, and smelling like old coffee and the lavender candle she'd lit. She dropped her clutch on the counter, kicked off her shoes, and just stood there in the dark, listening to the hum of the fridge and the distant pulse of the city. Her phone buzzed, a text from a number she didn't recognize. You were incredible tonight. Sleep well. L. She stared at the message, then put the phone face down. Her hands were shaking, not from fear, but from the lack of it. Adrenaline, maybe, or just the sharp, cold shock of being free. She'd done it. She walked into that room, faced them both, and walked out in one piece. So why did she feel like she was about to completely lose it? Arya flipped on a light, poured a glass of water, took a sip, and slammed it down on the counter. The sound echoed at the quiet apartment. She pressed her palms flat against the cold granite, squeezed her eyes shut, and tried that breathing thing Luca taught her. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. It didn't work. The tears came anyway, hot and fast and violent. They weren't sad tears or angry ones. They were the kind that burst out when you've held yourself together for so long your own body can't take the strain anymore. She slid down to the kitchen floor, her back against the cabinets, and just let it happen. 10 minutes, maybe 15. She lost track. When it was over, she felt scrubbed clean, hollowed out, like some poison had finally been flushed from her system. Arya wiped her face with the back of her hand, got up, and went to bed. Sleep came quick with no dreams. The morning hit way too bright, way too fast. Sunlight sliced through the blinds as Arya's phone buzzed like an angry hornet on the nightstand. She squinted, grabbing for it. 12 missed calls, 23 text messages. A block of ice formed in her gut. Most were from randoms, old coworkers, some guy from an art show years ago. The messages all boiled down to one thing. Saw you. You looked amazing. Who was that guy? We need the tea, but one message stood out. Her mother's. We need to talk. Call me when you can. Arya let the phone fall, her eyes drifting up to the ceiling. Her mother. This showdown was inevitable. Caroline would have been on the phone with her the second Arya left the party, spinning some sob story with herself as the hero. She was so not in the mood for this, but the phone buzzed again, lighting up with her mom's name. Ugh! Arya finally sat up and answered. Mom! Arya! Her mom's voice was tight, doing that fake calm thing that screamed disappointment. I've been calling. I was sleeping. At 11 in the morning. Long night. A heavy pause, then Carolyn called me. Figured. Arya's voice was flat, totally over it. What's her version? She said you were at the Whitmore Gala with Luca Devereaux. That's a fact. And you didn't think to tell me. Arya leaned her head back. What would be the point? Because, her mother gasped. Arya, do you have any idea who that man is? Yep. He's dangerous. He's a businessman. He has zero mercy. People who cross him just disappear. A bitter little laugh escaped Arya. And Marcus, what's your word for what he did? Dead silence. Mom? Arya said, softening a bit. I'm not doing this right now. Caroline is worried about you. Caroline can worry about herself. Arya, I have to go. She hung up before Arya could reply, then switched the phone off and dropped it. A tight feeling gripped her chest. Not sadness. Something way more explosive. Maybe rage, or maybe just the crushing weight of having to manage everyone's feelings while she was secretly falling apart. She got up, showered, and made coffee. The coffee was black and strong, and it seemed to flip a switch in her head, from raw emotion to stone-cold strategy. At her desk, none of her usual work felt right, so she turned to her inbox instead. A message from an Elaine Cortez at Prestige, a top editor, had a subject line that got straight to the point. Opportunity. An impulse she couldn't explain made her click it open. The email was all corporate politeness, but it was giving her serious whiplash. She read it 3 times, trying to figure out why this magazine was suddenly offering her a gig after sending her a rejection form. Nothing about her career path made this sudden glow-up make sense. The only person who could orchestrate this had to be him. A quick search confirmed it. Luca was the CEO of Devereux Holdings, with a seat on a ton of powerful boards. The search uncovered the spiderweb of his power. His company bought a controlling stake 6 months back. This wasn't a real opportunity, it was a power move. The realization was a toxic mix of rage and feeling indebted. Then Luca's text landed, "Lunch, 1 p.m., sending a car." It wasn't a question, it was a command. Her first instinct was to tell him off, but this wasn't the first time she'd benefited from his influence. Her response was one word: yes. The car that showed up at 12:45 was a ghost, totally different from their last ride. The driver's total silence just hammered home that this was a transaction, not a date. The 20-minute drive ended in some old-school part of town she'd never seen. They pulled up to a building with no sign, just a number. The driver opening her door was the final unspoken order. The driver's statement was blunt: "Mr. Devereux is waiting." Inside, the place was dim, and Luca had the best seat in the house, a back table where he could see the entire entrance. She confronted him about the job offer right away. He just brushed it off as an introduction. When she called him out on owning the company, he hit her with a slick verbal dodge. He had a stake in the parent company, a line perfectly designed to downplay his total control. His question was cold, totally detached. "Are you angry?" She was just confused, not mad. He immediately started spinning the narrative, saying he just pointed an editor toward her portfolio and that her talent did the rest. The validation was immediately followed by a sharp critique. "Your website, it's outdated," then boosted by the claim that her talent was better than good. It was a calculated mix of praise and poison. Luca took charge of the scene, ordering for them both without asking. He dodged her questions about his motives by launching into a sob story to create some fake bond. He told her about being engaged 5 years ago to some woman named Isabel, who ditched him 2 weeks before the wedding for his business partner, a guy he treated like a brother for 10 years. He waved off her sympathy, recasting the ultimate betrayal as the very thing that made him powerful. It was a lesson, he said, that loyalty is just a word until it's put under insane pressure. "The ones who don't break," he finished, "are priceless." "And you think I'm one of them?" she asked. I think you have the potential to be, he shot back, basically putting her on trial. When the food came, her appetite was completely gone. When she asked if he regretted being so open, he corrected her. The mistake wasn't trusting, it was trusting the wrong person. He claimed the whole mess rebuilt his worldview. He doesn't wait to be noticed anymore, he makes people notice him. And he confirmed this new strategy was working out great for him. He said he'd rather be feared than pitied, then quickly changed fear to respect, claiming fear was just the fastest way to get there. She admitted her own fear was becoming hard, cold, untouchable. His comfort was a total mind game. Her being able to admit that fear was proof she'd never give in to it. The people who really turn to ice, he said, can't even feel how cold they are. After they ate, she told him her ex-fiancé, Marcus, had tried to get in touch. Luca's face was a complete blank. He asked if she had answered. She hadn't. Good, he said. Then he laid out the psychology of it all. Breaking a 3-year tie is a long game, and answering would be giving up valuable brain space that he no longer deserves. Her question, what if he wants to apologize, was met with a surgical strike. Do you want him back? He asked, completely ignoring her question. No. Then what he wants is irrelevant. The traumatic memory then hit her. A family dinner, the 4 of them, her, Marcus, and the other woman, Carolyn. An innocent comment from her mom about grandkids had made Marcus completely freeze up. In that instant, she said, I knew. The betrayal wasn't some huge confession, but a tiny tell. His eyes darted not to her, but to Carolyn. His excuses later were just a bunch of cliches. It was a thing that just happened, like he had no control. Both he and Caroline claimed they couldn't help how they felt. The affair lasted for 6 months. Her own judgment was harsh. I'm an idiot. Luca stepped in, reframing her conclusion. He argued this wasn't a failure of her brain, but a bad bet on her trust. Leaning in, his voice low and intense, he got her full attention. Listen to me. His judgment was precise. Their betrayal was a sign of their own messed up characters, and it had nothing to do with her value. You missed the signs because you're naive. You missed them because you're not built that way, which is a good thing. A lump formed in Arya's throat. It doesn't feel like a good thing. It will, he promised. An hour later, they left. Luca waved off the waiting car. Walk with me. They wandered down the quiet, tree-lined streets. The sharp click of Arya's heels was the only sound. She definitely wore the wrong shoes. After a long silence, Luca spoke. Tell me something. Like what? A truth you've never told anyone else. Arya thought about it. I'm afraid. Of what? That I'll wake up one day and find that nothing's changed, that I'll be right back where I started. He stopped walking, turning to her as the daylight faded. That can't happen now. How are you so sure? I'm sure because the fear itself is proof you're already changing. People who slide backward don't even see it happening. They just fall into old habits. You're aware of the danger, that's the difference. Arya struggled to believe him. It felt too much like hope, which always led to pain. They started walking again as the sun cast long, creepy shadows. Can I ask a question? Arya started. Go ahead. What's your angle in all this? In my recovery. Luca paused for a second, his voice softer. I get to watch a person's true self come out, not the one society forced on them. An event like that, he went on, is so rare it's worth studying. Arya had nothing to say to that, so she just stayed quiet. They kept walking until dark when Luca finally called the car. I'll see you soon, he said as she got in. When? When the time is right? The car pulled away and he got smaller in the rear window before disappearing. Later that night, she broke a rule and listened to the voicemail from Marcus. His voice was shaky, a pathetic ghost of what it used to be. Arya, it's me. I don't know if you'll get this, but I had to try. I saw you last night, and I need you to know I'm so sorry. So get this. The ex sends a pathetic voicemail trying to crawl back. I was a coward. You deserved better. But Arya, she ain't got time for that. She hits delete, blocks his number, boom, done. Then, like a total boss, she fires off an email to Elaine Cortez, locking in a huge new gig before she can even second guess it. Almost instantly, her phone buzzes. It's a text from Luca, the puppet master. I'm proud of you. She hits him back with, How did you know? And he replies with some cryptic nonsense, because I know you. Yeah, right. Arya's thinking, is this dude my mentor or my manipulator? Still, she's not drowning anymore, so it's a win. Then the call with Elaine Cortez gets locked in for 2 days later. Arya's at her desk, notebook ready, trying to look like she's got it all together when the phone rings. Arya, thanks for your time. Of course, thanks for the call. Elaine's voice is all business, zero fluff. Look, we're running a 12-page feature on boss ladies in weird careers. I need a photographer who makes vulnerability look like a superpower. Your portfolio says that's you. Arya's gripping her pen like her life depends on it. I appreciate that. Shoots in 3 weeks, New York. We cover travel. You get full creative control. I get final say. The pay is $15,000. Is that cool? 15 grand. Arya's mind just short-circuited. That's more cash than she's ever seen from a single job. Yes, she says, her voice steady as a rock somehow. That works. Dope. Paperwork's on its way. Welcome aboard. The line clicks dead. Arya just stares at her hands, which are shaking again. But this time, it feels a lot like hope. She texts Luca. I got the job. His reply is instant. I know. Elaine called me after. Why? I told her to call. I had to make sure she wouldn't waste your time. A weird mix of rage and relief washes over her, and she just lets it happen. You have to stop this. Stop what? Playing puppet master with my life. So, our guy Luca is using a classic power play, making his control look like her big chance. His whole vibe creates this illusion of freedom, total manipulation 101. When he says Arya's next move is her own, he's just setting the hook. Her simple thank you shows she's getting hooked, relying on him. But when he brushes it off, he's erasing the debt she feels. 3 dots blink, then he drops the next move. Dinner tonight? Arya's hesitation is a full-blown civil war in her head. This is way past friends, but not quite a thing. She apparently took 2 hours to pick an outfit, totally stressing over what role she was supposed to play. She lands on black trousers and a silk blouse. A power-neutral look. Basically armor against being misread. Luca pulls up at 7 o'clock sharp, a silent flex of his control. He just waits in the car, making her come to his turf. She gets in the back with him. His compliment, "You look nice," is just another calculated reward. Her comeback, "You say that every time," shows she sees the pattern, but she still craves it. The 30-minute drive to some sterile, rich people suburb is a classic move to get her on his turf and crank up his influence. The streets are massive, lined with old trees and houses with big porches. The car stops at a small bistro tucked between a bookstore and a flower shop. Luca gets her door himself and dismisses the driver. Let's go. Inside, the vibe is cozy and dim, with brick walls and cool furniture. The place is basically empty. A woman in her 60s just nods at Luca and shows them to a private corner booth without a word. "You come here a lot?" Arya asks once they're settled. "I used to, when I needed a quiet place to think. And now it's where I bring people I no longer need to wear a mask for." Arya has no idea how to take that, so she just hides behind the menu while they order. Wine shows up for her, whiskey for him. The food is all small, fancy plates, the kind meant for talking, not actually eating. "Tell me about New York," Luca starts. "What about it?" "Are you nervous?" "I'm terrified." "Of what?" Arya puts her fork down. "Because this job could make or break my career. If I fail, it's not just a missed shot. It proves I was never good enough in the first place." "That's a twisted way of looking at it." "Is it? Everyone's just gonna say I only got the gig because of you." "Let them. Your work will be your only clap back." "And what if my work sucks?" Luca leans back, sizing her up. "You're aiming your fear at the wrong target." "What should I be afraid of?" "Nothing. You need to focus on the work. Everything else is just noise." "Easy for you to say." "You think any of this was easy for me?" Arya blinked. "Wasn't it?" "No. I spent the last 10 years building a reputation, a name that demands respect because people are scared of it. That doesn't mean I'm good. It means I'm good at making people hesitate. You, on the other hand, are actually good at what you do." "Maybe. But I wasn't always. I made epic mistakes. I lost cash, I lost crew, and I lost years trying to justify why I belonged in rooms I was never even invited into." "So where are you now?" "I own those rooms now, but that feeling of being an imposter never leaves. I've just stopped giving a damn about it." Arya soaked that in. "What made you stop caring?" Luca swirled the whiskey in his glass, staring into it like it held the answers. "I stopped asking for permission from money guys, from board members, from old dudes who thought being old made them smart. I started trusting my own gut, even when the whole world told me I was wrong." "Did it work?" "Mostly. And when I crashed and burned, I learned more from my own screw-ups than they ever did from their safe little wins." Their main courses arrived. They ate slowly, the conversation shifting to safer territory. For the first time in forever, a sense of calm washed over Arya. "Can I ask you something personal?" she risked. "That depends entirely on the question." "Isabel," she started, "what happened after she left?" Luca's expression didn't shut down, it just got sharper. "What do you want to know?" "Did you two ever talk again?" "Once. A year later. She called out of the blue saying she needed to apologize. And you?" I let her give her little speech. Then I ended the call. "Was that really the end?" "It was. She was looking for closure. I wasn't required to give it to her." The ghost of Marcus's unheard voicemail echoed in Arya's mind. "Do you regret it?" "Regret not letting her finish her pity party?" "No. Her call wasn't about being sorry. It was a play for absolution, a way to escape the consequences of her actions, and he refused to give it to her." "I wouldn't grant her that peace," he said. "That's pretty harsh." "Maybe. But it was the right call." Their meal ended. A waiter brought coffee without being asked as the plates were cleared. Arya wrapped her hands around the warm mug. "I still remember that night," she admitted. "The gala. The way you controlled that room was absolute. I want that feeling. You already have that power." No, I was just acting. You weren't. Arya, every single person in that room is playing a part. My performance is just more polished than most. That's a hard truth to swallow. Then you need to learn. Power is built on two things: what other people think of you and the lies we tell ourselves. Arya's look intensified. The dim light seemed to lower his shields, showing a flash of weakness. She saw the faint stress lines around his eyes she'd missed before. "Doesn't it get exhausting?" she asked. "What?" "The act, the constant calculating, the whole show." Luca went quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice had lost its usual edge. "Always." "Then why keep doing it?" "Because to stop would be to admit the last 10 years were for a hollow shell of a man I might not even like, and that's a truth I'm not ready to face." His honesty hit her like a punch to the gut. Model. She was absolutely floored. Luca drained the last of his whiskey. "Let's get out of here." The air outside was crisp with a clear hint of fall coming. The driver was there, but Luca waved him off again. "Feel like a walk?" he asked. "Yes." They started moving with no real plan, past the dark fronts of stores and under streetlights making halos on the pavement. The only sound was the click of Arya's heels. Luca's hands were buried in his pockets. "So, what's the end game with your family?" he finally asked. "Explain." "Your mom, your sister, you can't just dodge them forever." "Watch me." "Arya," she sighed, "I'm torn. Half of me wants to go in there and just unleash hell. And the other half just wants to vanish from their lives completely. Both make sense, but only one of those is a real strategy." "And which one is that?" "To disappear." "My mother will side with Caroline. She always does. And Caroline will spin this into some epic tragedy where she's the poor, suffering victim. And you're just gonna let that fly?" "What else can I do?" Luca stopped dead, turning to her. "You have all the options. You can declare war, go into exile, or show mercy. What you can't do is let them write your story while you just stand there." "I don't know how to do that." "You totally do. You did it at the gala. You walked into that room and owned the entire narrative just by showing up. That was a totally different situation." "How?" "Because you were with me." Something in Luca's whole demeanor shifted. "I'm with you now." A lump of old anxieties formed in Arya's throat. She looked away, fighting back a sudden burn in her eyes. "I can't use you as my foundation." "And why not?" "Because the second you leave or get sick of this, of me, I'll fall to pieces." "That's not going to happen." "You can't know that." "I can. I don't do things by half. I don't place bets on people I think are gonna fold." Arya locked eyes with him. She saw something raw in them, a piece of him that was totally unguarded, and it scared her, not with danger, but with its sheer realness. "What do you want from me?" she whispered. Luca's answer was perfectly measured, every word a tactical choice. "I want you to stop apologizing for taking up space, to quit overthinking every single move because you're scared of messing up. I want you to trust yourself with the same goddamn faith I have in you." That's a huge thing to ask. "I know. I'm not sure I can do it." "You're already doing it. You just haven't figured out how to see it yet." They started walking again. The vibe between them had changed, now heavy with things left unsaid. Arya's phone buzzed, a call she decided to blow off. It went off again. "You should probably get that," Luca said. She pulled it out. 2 texts from a number she didn't recognize. "It's Carolyn. We have to talk. Please. I know you're mad, but we're sisters." Arya stared at the message, that old tight feeling squeezing her chest. "What's up?" Luca asked. "Carolyn?" His jaw went rigid. "What does she want?" "To talk." "And are you going to give her that?" The question was loaded with a whole history of sisterly bonds and secrets. Memories of trust now clashing with the fresh image of Carolyn's face, totally unapologetic, the face of someone who never faces consequences. "No," Arya said. "You sure?" "No, but that's the call I'm making." She then blocked the number. Then she shut the phone off completely. Luca said nothing, but a slow, heavy nod told her he got it completely. Their walk had taken them in a circle back to the restaurant where the car was waiting like a patient shadow. "I should probably head home," Arya said. "Right." The ride back was wrapped in a shared silence. Out the window, Arya watched the city morph, the urban sprawl hardening into towers of steel. At her building, Luca walked her to the door. "Thanks," she said, "for tonight. For everything. Stop thanking me. It's a habit." The slightest hint of a smile touched his mouth. "Get some rest. You've still got work." "I know." She started to go, but his voice stopped her. "Arya." She looked back. "You're tougher than you realize." "Don't you dare forget it," he finished. Unable to speak, she just nodded and slipped inside. Upstairs, the apartment felt like a massive, empty cave. She flipped on all the lights, made tea she knew she wouldn't touch, and sat on the couch, staring at nothing. Her laptop was still on the coffee table. She grabbed it, opened her email, and began to type. "Mother, I know Caroline called you, and I get that my reaction looks extreme. But you have to get this. This wasn't just a betrayal. It was a decision. For 6 months, they picked each other over me, again and again. I am not asking you to choose a side. I am telling you, I can't be a part of this fantasy anymore. I need distance from both of them. And maybe from you too. I'm not sure yet. I'm not doing this to hurt you. I'm doing it to survive. And I can't do that by pretending this is all fine. I hope you get it, but if you don't, I'll have to deal with that. Arya." She read the message 3 times, then deleted the whole thing. Some fights weren't meant for right now. Instead, she opened a new file and started mapping out the New York project, lighting diagrams, shot compositions, questions for her interviews. She worked until 2 a.m., when she was so physically drained that the chaos in her head finally shut up, letting her sleep. The next 3 weeks were a solid wall of pure grind. Her whole life was now contracts, strategy meetings, and deep dive research. Work was her new fortress. Luca's texts were little pings here and there, small and asking for nothing. "How's the prep going? Make sure you eat. You're about to kill this." Arya saved every single one, refusing to analyze why. 2 days before she was set to leave for New York, her mother called. Arya paused, then picked up. "Mom." "Arya." Her mother's voice was stretched thin with tension. "We have to talk." "I really don't think so. Please, I just need you to listen." Arya sat on her bed, ready for anything. "I'm listening." Her mother's breath was shaky. "Caroline told me everything about Marcus, about how long it was happening. I didn't know, Arya, I swear to God. I had no idea." "Would it have mattered if you did?" "Of course it would have." "Really? For the last 3 weeks, all you did was defend her." "I wasn't defending her. I was trying to keep this family from blowing up. It already blew up, Mom. You just weren't there to see it. Silence. I'm so sorry. Her mother finally said, I'm sorry I didn't see it, that I didn't ask the right things. I'm so sorry I made you feel like you had to deal with this all by yourself. That old tightness squeezed Arya's throat. I don't know what you expect me to say. I don't want anything. I just need you to know that I get it now. What they did. What I did by failing you. Okay? Okay? I heard you. I don't know if it changes anything, but I heard you. A long pause stretched out from her mom's end. Will you come for Thanksgiving? I don't know. Will you consider it? Maybe. That's all I can ask. The call ended. Arya sat perfectly still, staring, trying to figure out what this new feeling was. Her emotions were a complete stalemate. No ground won, no ground lost. This lockdown was its own kind of win. The day before her flight, she was called to Luca's office, a place she had never been. She pictured some sterile steel box built to scare people. The reality was way different. The building was old, but its character was preserved by the remodel, showing off brick walls and huge windows that let in tons of light. His office took up the whole penthouse floor, a zone of pure, quiet power, full of books and files that screamed actual work got done here. He was on a call when she walked in. He pointed to a chair before wrapping it up. You made it, he said. You told me to. I did. He pulled an envelope from a drawer and slid it across the desk. New York, Arya said under her breath, opening it up. Inside was a check for $20,000. Her head snapped up. What the hell is this? It's a retainer. Elaine already paid me. That was for your time, he said. This is for backup. Clothes, new gear, anything you need so there are no last-minute problems. I can't take this. You can, he shot back, and you will. Luca? Arya, quit fighting me on this. Your camera is 5 years old. The lenses are a mess. Your talent has been carrying you, but you don't need it to anymore. Not like this. Her eyes were glued to the number. I'll pay it back. No, you won't. I'm giving you my word I will. Fine. He gave in. Pay me back by making something so incredible that nobody even remembers I was involved. Arya folded the check perfectly and slid it back in the envelope. My thanks. Don't thank me. I won't. A real smile broke through his professional mask, changing his whole face. The guarded boss disappeared, revealing someone younger. You are a difficult woman, he said, and you're a difficult man. A comfortable silence settled between them, something totally new for them. Are you ready? Luca asked. For New York? For all of it. Arya thought about the last month, the gala, the job, the painful shedding of her old self for someone she was just starting to meet. I don't know, she said, but I'm going anyway. Good, he said. That's all that matters. So just as Arya's about to bounce, Luca hits her with a, Arya! She whips around. You're gonna be an absolute legend, he tells her. Don't let anyone say different, especially you. She's so shook, she can only nod before dipping out. Next morning, she's in the sky, blasting off to New York with brand new gear, a solid contract, and some wild feeling brewing inside. It felt like the start of something massive, or maybe the epic finale. Either way, she was locked and loaded. New York was a straight-up system shock, a hurricane of sound, speed, and a never-ending flood of people. She'd been before, but never for a mission this huge. The midtown spot Elaine hooked up was this slick, sterile tower for people on the move. Arya grabs her keys, drags her stuff to the 11th floor, and just freezes, crushed by the weight of what she just did. Her phone buzzes. It's Luca. "You touched down okay?" "Yeah," she texts back. "In the room now." "Nervous?" "I'm completely terrified." "Good," he shoots back. "Means you're not a robot." A tiny smirk almost forms on her face, but not quite. The mission kicked off tomorrow. 8 targets in 3 days, all handpicked by Elaine. Arya spends the night buried in her notes, running checks on gear she already knew inside and out. A beast-level hunger starts eating at her, a physical sign of a much deeper burnout. Room service shows up with a tray of pure sadness, a dead-looking salad, and a sandwich that tasted like cardboard, and she barely touched any of it. Sleep was a total ghost. She just laid there, staring at the ceiling while the city's chaos, sirens, angry horns, ghost arguments from strangers leaked through the glass. By 2 a.m., she taps out, grabbing her camera like a shield and walking into the night's madness. The city's vibe had switched up. The daytime chaos was gone, replaced by a low, dangerous growl. Arya stalked the streets until her body gave out, snapping shots of whatever called to her. A shadow trying to get warm over a subway grate, a savage slash of paint on a metal door. She saw beauty in how neon lights melted on the wet pavement. It was almost 4 when she finally retreated. She washed off the night, got dressed, and posted up by the window watching the sky bleed from black to gray to a whisper of blue. Her phone shatters the peace at 6:30. "Elaine, are you online?" "I am." "Good, location's downtown, car's there at 7:30, your 9 o'clock is up first." "I'll be ready." "I know you will. See you there." The line clicks dead. Arya stares at her reflection. She was a ghost, wired and fried, running on nothing but pure nerve and grit. That would have to be enough. The studio was this massive industrial temple in Brooklyn, all sleek concrete and raw steel. Elaine was standing watch at the door, a woman in her 50s with the eyes of a killer, dressed in all black, like she was heading to an art show or a burial. Or maybe both. "Arya, a pleasure to finally meet you," she says. Her handshake wasn't a greeting, it was a quick, cold calculation. "Luca thinks you're the real deal," Elaine notes. "He's biased." "Maybe, but his gut is rarely wrong." She gestures to the massive space. "This is your battleground. I'll let you do your thing. Your first subject is Maya Chen, a tech goddess. Built an empire from scratch, just got crowned by Forbes 30 under 30. She's a fortress and hates the spotlight. You're gonna have to dig deep." "Got it." Elaine just vanished. For the next hour, Arya turned into a light-bending master, shifting stands and tweaking diffusers, hunting for that perfect fragile balance. Maya shows up at 9 on the dot, a woman barely in her mid-20s rocking a suit that screamed more money than Arya had ever seen. Her face was a perfect mask of friendly but not really, a shield she built over tons of interviews designed to reveal nothing. "Maya, thanks for making the time." "Of course." Her handshake was fast and all business. "Where do you want me?" Arya led her to a lone chair by the window where the sun was softened by thin curtains. "Right here. Let's start simple and see where we end up." Maya sat down, arranging her limbs into a pose of absolute control. Arya brought up her camera, snapping a few warm-up shots. Maya's smile was perfect, a hollow copy of warmth made for a magazine. Can I ask you something? Arya says, dropping the camera. The smile didn't move. You can. Why do you say yes to this? For a split second, the mask slipped. I'm not sure I understand. You don't need this kind of publicity. You're on the Forbes list. You've got an army of backers. What made you agree to a story about redefining success? A second of silence hung in the air before Maya let out a laugh. It was short and shockingly real. You're pretty blunt. I don't have time to be anything else. Fair enough. Maya shifted, her body relaxing, and the first crack appeared in her corporate armor. My PR team thought it would be a strategic play, a chance to show my, quote, human side. And is there one? A human side? I'm not so sure anymore. Most days it feels like something I sold off to get the company started. Arya lifted the camera again. Tell me what it cost you. Maya's face changed, not getting harder, but getting cloudy with some heavy-duty doubt. I haven't slept more than 4 hours a night in 3 years. I can't remember the last time I saw my parents. I'm responsible for 200 people's paychecks, and most days I'm just guessing, praying I don't burn it all to the ground. Click. The shutter caught the exact moment her realness broke through. And you keep going, Arya pointed out. I keep going. Why? Because I'm afraid if I stop, I won't even know the person that's left. Click. Another shot. Maya's eyes were sharp, but lost. For an hour, Arya worked, peeling back the layers of the persona to find the actual woman buried under the CEO. When it was over, Maya's jacket was off, her hair was a mess, and her face was open in a way it definitely wasn't when she walked in. Thank you, Maya said, getting ready to go. That was different. A good different? I think so. I'll know for sure when I see the pictures. The day kept repeating the same script. A new person, the same locked-down heart. There was a single mom who built a charity from her kitchen, a disgraced athlete who lost it all, then became a mentor, a writer who got her first book published at 50 after a lifetime of no. Every single session started with a wall up. Every single person was carrying a secret weight, and every single one eventually let Arya see it. The last subject left after 8 p.m. Arya's back was on fire and her eyes were burning, but she felt more alive than she had in months. Elaine reappeared from the shadows while Arya was packing up her gear. Your take? Promising, I think. I need to see them on a real screen to know for sure. I want the unedited files by morning, no changes. Arya just gave a sharp nod. Understood. You did good today. I wasn't totally sold you had the right instinct. Thanks for the 5-star review. The smallest trace of a smile hid Elaine's lips. I don't run on confidence, I run on instinct. And my instinct is telling me Luca wasn't wrong about you. She spun around and left before Arya could even think of a comeback. With her gear packed, Arya capped it back to the fake piece of the hotel. Her screen showed 6 missed calls, a trio from a ghost number, 2 from her mom, and 1 from Luca. She called him back first. How was day 1? He asked. It was horrifying, draining. I think it went great. That's exactly how I thought it would go. Elaine is already demanding the raw files by dawn. That's her style, don't let it get to you. A little late for that warning. Luca's laugh was a surprise shot of warmth over the phone. You'll survive, Arya. Trust your gut. I'm trying. I know, and that's why I'm not worried. For the next 20 minutes, they just talked, covering the big stuff and the dumb stuff and the weird paradox of New York, a city that can make you feel like a giant and totally invisible at the same time. His voice was a calming anchor that stuck with her long after they hung up. The next 2 days were a total blur of faces and confessions, talks that started with polite lies and ended with raw, unfiltered truth, with Arya's camera catching the tiny space between what people think and what they say. On the third day, Elaine sat next to her, the laptop screen reflecting in her glasses as she clinically ripped apart the raw files. The silence was absolute, only broken by the trackpad click and her pen scratching a notepad. Finally, her eyes moved to meet Arya's. "These will do. Just do. They're exceptional. They blew my expectations out of the water." The knot in Arya's stomach started to loosen. "Thank you." "Don't thank me," Elaine shot back, snapping the laptop shut. "You did all the work." So boom, she's offered the next big project, a deep dive on legacy, people building things to last. It's a 3-month gig, starting in January. The words hit Arya's brain on a serious delay. She asks for more info. They shut her down. Is she in? You bet. They tell her they'll sort out the details later and to just enjoy the win she earned. Arya stumbles out of the studio, completely zoned out, just drifting with the city crowd with no destination. She ends up on a bench in Central Park, staring into some murky lake water. Then a vibration, an encrypted message from a burner number. "Congratulations. Your performance was top tier, M. Marcus." Arya just glares at the screen. A different number. Of course, he cracked her digital security, just like she knew he would. That was totally his move. She thinks up all the savage replies she could send, all the lines she needs to draw. But instead, she goes with absolute silence, deleting the message and powering down her phone. That night, she hides out in a tiny Italian spot, the kind with cliché checkered tablecloths and drippy candles. It's just her, pasta, and wine, watching the city buzz outside. Halfway through dinner, the waiter brings over a second glass, saying it's from the guy at the bar. Arya turns. 3 seats down, there's Luca, looking sharp as ever, like he just stepped out of a magazine ad. Their eyes lock. He gives his glass a tiny raise, asking a question without a word. Arya just points to the empty chair at her table. Luca pays his tab and glides across the room like a pro. "What are you doing here?" she asks. "I had business in the city," he says. "Figured I'd check in on you." She's not buying it. "You flew all the way to New York just to see how I was doing?" "Among other things," he replies, taking the seat and grabbing a menu he never even looks at. "How are you feeling?" "Like I just survived a war," she says. "You did. Elaine picked me for the next series." "I know. She called me." "Of course." "She did." A little smirk plays on Luca's lips. "She's impressed, and that's not easy to pull off." Arya sips the new wine. It's way better than what she ordered. "So, what's the real reason you're here?" "I told you, meetings." "Luca." He pauses, his gaze getting super intense, like he's trying to read her mind. "I wanted to make sure you were okay," he admits. "And I didn't want you going through the aftermath of that whole mess by yourself." A lump forms in Arya's throat. "You didn't have to do that." "I'm aware." They eat, and the conversation jumps from the project to the city to the weirdly close bond you get from capturing a stranger's soul on camera. Luca tells a story about a merger that tanked just because two CEOs couldn't stand being in the same room. Arya talks about that one moment with Maya when her corporate armor cracked and a real person showed through. That's your special talent, Luca points out. You see the things people try to keep hidden. Is that supposed to be a compliment? It's an observation, but yeah. After dinner, they just walk, wandering aimlessly through the city that never sleeps. They get swallowed up by Times Square, a total sensory overload of fake light and noise. I absolutely hate this place, Luca confesses. How come? It's all too much. It's just a stage for people to consume. But you're always on a stage, she counters. That's different. My stage is the boardroom behind closed doors, not some sidewalk where faces are forgotten in 5 minutes. Arya studies him. Does the guy under the suit ever come out? Luca looks right at her. You're looking at him right now. Suddenly, the vibe between them changes, charged with this huge, unspoken question that neither of them is brave enough to ask. Let's get out of here, Luca says, finally breaking the tension. This place is a nightmare. They grab a cab, and the ride back is quiet, but it's a comfortable, shared silence, not an awkward one. When they get to her hotel, Luca walks her to the door. Thank you, Arya says, for showing up for all of it. Stop thanking me. I told you, it's a reflex. A small smile appears on his face. Then he does something totally unexpected and pulls her into a hug. It wasn't some awkward, polite hug. It was solid, warm, and grounding. Arya's body goes rigid for a second before she just melts into it. When he pulls back, his usual guarded expression is gone. You accomplished something huge this week, he says. Don't let anyone take that away from you. Not Elaine, not Marcus, and definitely not you. I won't. Good. And with that, he was gone. Arya watches him walk away before going up to her room, feeling like sleep was a million miles away. She fires up her laptop and the raw photos start loading one by one. She looks through them, seeing a whole story in every face, a confession in every look. For the first time in what felt like forever, Arya actually felt the real weight of her own success. Her phone buzzes, her hand grabbing it on instinct. Another text from Marcus. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I'm sorry for everything. You deserved better. Arya stares at the words for a hot minute. Finally, she texts back. You're right, I did, and I still do. Don't contact me again. She hits send, blocks his number, and puts the phone face down. The next morning, she's on a flight home. From up high, the city looks completely different, calm and totally manageable. She had run away from it like prey barely escaping a trap. Now she was coming back like a hunter who'd just bagged her prize. Luca's car was waiting for her, which she didn't ask for, but totally expected. The driver takes her home. Her apartment looks the same, but she's seeing it through a whole new lens. She'd left as one person and returned as someone else, entirely. She unpacks, showers, and sits down at her desk. A notification pings on her laptop. An email from Elaine. Arya, the final pics are attached. Your name will be in their credits in next month's issue. Incredible work. We'll talk about the legacy project after the holiday. Get some rest. You've earned it. Arya opens the file. 12 pictures stare back at her, each one sharper and more real than she remembered. She actually did it. Her phone starts to ring. It's Luca. "Did you see Elaine's email?" he asks. "Just now." And I'm speechless. You don't need words, just feel it. Arya closes her eyes, letting the feeling wash over her. This insane mix of pride, relief, and the buzz of a bet that paid off big time. "Thank you," she whispers. "For what?" "For seeing something in me before I did." "That's my job," Luca says. And I see the potential that people can't see in themselves, and then I just wait for them to catch up. They keep talking about future moves, the holidays, and the still unresolved drama of Thanksgiving with her mom. "What do you think I should do?" she asks him. "I think you should do whatever feels real. Not the easy thing and not the thing that makes other people happy. What feels right to you? And what if I don't know what that is? Then you wait until you do." After the call, Arya just sits there with her photos. Every person in them looks back, totally defiant. She thinks about Marcus, about Caroline, and about her mom's fake apology that still stings. She remembers who she was at that gala a month ago. Broken, invisible, and desperate for anyone to notice her. That person feels like a complete stranger now. Arya starts a new email. "Mom, about Thanksgiving, I can't see Caroline. I might never be able to, but I'd like to see you. Just us. Let me know if that's something you can handle. Arya." She sends it before she can second guess herself. Then she goes into her photo archives and just starts working. It was progress, not perfect, not painless, but it was a move in a new direction. And for now, that was enough. Her mom's reply lands 2 days later, the tone short and cautious. "I'd like that. Just us. The Saturday before Thanksgiving, I can come to you." Arya reads it 3 times, looking for the catch, for the hidden drama she was expecting. But the words were just straight up. A total, unconditional yes. She types back, "Okay. Saturday at 2. The days leading up to it felt like they dragged on forever. Arya throws herself into her work, editing the New York photos, emailing with Elaine, and building a portfolio that showed off her new professional vibe. Luca called twice. The conversations were chill, just about the weather, some documentary he watched, and Arya's new habit of going on early morning runs to keep her anxiety in check. "That's adaptive behavior," he commented. "It's a sign you're rebuilding. Or running away. Maybe it's both. That doesn't make it any less of a good thing." On Friday night, Arya goes on a cleaning rampage, scrubbing her apartment for the first time in weeks. It wasn't about being practical. She just had this insane need to physically do something. She polished surfaces that were already sparkling and moved stuff that was perfectly fine. By the time she finished, it was way past midnight. Parked on her couch, she zoned out in the dead silence, not even sure what the vibe was supposed to be. Saturday was a gray, cold mess. Arya made coffee, torched the toast, tossed it, and started over. She tried on 3 different outfits before landing on jeans and a sweater that screamed casual, completely hiding the insane pressure of the day. Her mom showed up sharp at 2:00. Arya watched from the window as she bailed from her car, clutching her purse like body armor. She looked smaller, ancient, and bone-tired in a way that sleep couldn't fix. Arya yanked the door open before her mom could knock. "Hey, Mom." "Hi, honey." The awkward pause between them was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Her mom finally closed the distance with a quick, hesitant hug, like she was asking for permission. Arya returned it, an act that felt both natural and totally alien. "Come on in," Arya said. Her mom walked in, her eyes scanning the place with a weird intensity, even though she'd seen it a million times. "It looks different, nicer. I just moved some things. It works, it feels way bigger." They sat at the tiny kitchen table. Arya had made tea just to keep her hands busy, and now poured 2 mugs that would probably get cold. "I'm glad you could make it," Arya kicked off. "I'm glad you invited me." Her mother wrapped her hands around her mug, staring down into it like she was trying to read the future. "I wasn't sure you'd actually show up." "I wasn't sure either." A silence fell, not chill, not hostile, just there. "So how have you been?" her mom finally asked. "Busy. I was in New York doing a project for a magazine." "I know. Your dad found an article about it online. He showed it to me." Arya had to process that for a second. "My dad? He's super proud of you. He just sucks at saying it. But trust me, it's real." That info filled a hole she didn't even know she had. Arya looked down at her tea. "I had no idea." "I should have told you way sooner. We both should have." Her mom took a sharp breath. "Arya, I have to give you a real apology. Not like that phone call. You get me? I failed you. When you needed me to back you up, to have your side, I chose to keep up some fake family peace instead. I told myself I was holding the family together, but really I was just dodging a fight that needed to happen, and you're the one who paid the price for my cowardice." Arya's throat went tight, like she couldn't even speak. "I've spent the last month trying to figure out how I let that happen," her mom continued. "How I could watch my own kid get hurt and do nothing. The honest truth is, I was scared. Scared of what it meant to admit Caroline did something unforgivable. Scared of losing her and terrified of losing you. So I froze. And that is not an excuse. It's not even close to good enough." "No," Arya choked out, her voice barely a whisper. "It's not. I know that. And I don't expect you to forgive me, not right now, maybe not ever. But you need to know that I see it now. What I did and what I didn't do. And I am so unbelievably sorry." Arya swiped at her eyes with the back of her hand, surprised they were even wet. "Why didn't you say any of this to me before?" "Because I didn't see it clearly myself. I was obsessed with fixing things, forcing you guys to make up, to get back to how things were. But you can't go back, and you shouldn't have to. That whole thing showed me something I had been refusing to see." "What was that?" "That I basically trained Caroline to think she was untouchable because I always cleaned up her messes. That I trained you to think your feelings were worthless because I never made them a priority. That I built a family system where the loudest, most destructive person got all the attention." Her mom's voice cracked. "I built that system, and now I have to deal with it." Arya just stared at her mother. This was not the showdown she had prepped for. She expected excuses, justifications, the usual blame game and denial. Not this. Not this brutal, total ownership. "What's the situation with Caroline?" Arya asked. Her mother's face tightened just a little. "What about her? Have you talked to her about all this?" "I have. She is not taking it well." "Good." A tiny ghost of a smile touched her mother's lips. "She's still insisting it wasn't her fault, that she didn't mean it, that she never wanted to hurt you. And yet, she screwed up. Yeah, she did. Her mom set her mug down like it was the end of a long losing battle. I told her I was done playing referee between you two. Any chance at making things right was on her to figure out. I told her I would not force you to forgive her, just to make family holidays less awkward. A massive knot of anxiety that Arya had been carrying for weeks started to unravel in her chest. You actually said that? I did. She flipped out, but that's her problem. Not yours. They let that new reality hang in the air. Outside, a car alarm blared. Someone yelled, the city's background noise, a total contrast to the fragile peace treaty being signed in the apartment. I don't know if I can forgive her, Arya said. Or you. At least not yet. That's understandable, but I want to start trying when you're ready. With you, with her, I'm not so sure. Her mother nodded. That's fair, more than fair. But there's a new rule you have to agree to. What is it? This can never happen again. If Carolyn or anyone comes at me, I need you on my side. No conditions, not the family's side, not the fake peace side, my side. You have my word. Words are easy, Mom. I know, so watch what I do, not what I say. Arya actually believed her. Or maybe she just wanted to. And for now, that was enough. They talked for another hour about nothing important. Arya's job, her mom's book club, the porch light her dad finally fixed after a 2-year delay. They talked about normal stuff, the kind of conversation they had before the big blow-up. When her mom finally left, the hug they shared was longer, not so shaky. I love you, her mom said. I love you too. Nothing was fixed, but a new foundation was there. After the door clicked shut, Arya stayed on the sofa, letting all the feelings settle. The grief, the release, the tiny, insane hope that some things, even when totally smashed, could be put back together. Her phone buzzed. It was Luca. How'd it go? Better than I expected. Harder than I hoped. That sounds about right. She apologized for real this time. Good, you deserved that. I don't know what's next. You don't have to know yet. A smile spread across Arya's face as she read his text. She typed back, You free tomorrow? That depends. What for? I want to take you somewhere. A short pause, then a reply. All right, where? It's a surprise. I hate surprises. You'll like this one. The next day was Sunday. Arya picked up Luca at noon in the beat-up sedan she got from her dad and barely ever drove. As he got in the passenger seat, his eyes scanned the garbage on the floor and the cracked dashboard, and he raised an eyebrow. This is your ride? Don't judge. I'm not judging. I'm observing. Same thing. Not even close. They drove out of the city toward a landscape that felt like a different planet, even though it was only 40 minutes away. Out here were rolling hills, patches of farmland, and roads that twisted for no reason other than looking cool. Where are we going? Luca asked. You'll see. You know I hate being kept in the dark. I know, that's exactly why I'm doing it. The smallest hint of a smile appeared on his lips. You're enjoying this. Way more than I should be. They kept driving until the GPS announced they were there. Arya parked on a gravel patch next to an old barn that had been turned into some kind of gallery and studio. A hand-painted sign read, Westfield Art Collective. Luca checked it out, then shot a look at Arya. What is this place? Somewhere I used to hang out, before life got crazy. Before Marcus, before New York, before I forgot why I picked up a camera in the first place. She hopped out of the car, and Luca followed. The inside of the barn smelled like wood, paint thinner, and coffee. Its walls were covered in a wild mix of art by local people. Paintings, sculptures, photos in a bunch of different frames. A woman in her 60s was at a corner desk, lost in a beat-up paperback. She looked up, and her face broke into a huge grin of recognition. "Well, look what the cat dragged in. You finally remembered where you came from." "Hey, Ruth." Ruth got up, wrapping Arya in a hug that smelled like lavender and stale cigarette smoke. "It's been too long, kid. I was starting to think you'd gone all Hollywood on us." "Not quite, just New York." "Same difference." Ruth's attention snapped to Luca, sizing him up with the kind of brutal honesty only super old or super young people can get away with. "And who's this fresh meat?" "This is Luca. Luca, meet Ruth. She's the OG who taught me the basics of the game." "And you've clearly forgotten half of it," Ruth shot back, but her smirk took the sting out of it. She put out a hand, and Luca shook it. "Pleasure to meet you," he said. "We'll see about that." Ruth waved him toward the barn. "Did Arya give you the lowdown on this place?" "Not really." "Figures. She never could take a compliment." Ruth glanced at Arya. "Your old hits are still up in the back. Didn't have the heart to take them down. People still ask about them." "For real?" "For real. Come on. I'll show your fancy new friend the damage you did before you went big league." They trailed Ruth to the back of the barn, and there it was. On a beat-up wall section, 6 of Arya's takedowns from 3 years back. Black and white shots of the locals, a farmer, a waitress, a gearhead. Faces you'd normally ignore, caught in moments of pure, unfiltered realness. Luca just stood there, his silence screaming respect. "This is stone cold," he finally said. "It's old work." "The power is still there." Ruth just snorted. Told her the same thing, but she wouldn't listen. Too busy chasing that big city clout. "I wasn't chasing a thing," Arya mumbled. Yeah, you weren't." Ruth patted her arm. "Glad you're back, kid, even if it's just a pit stop." She bounced, heading back to her desk, leaving them alone with the ghosts of Arya's former self. The barn was dead quiet except for the groaning wood in the wind. "So why'd you really drag me out to this ghost town?" Luca finally asked. "I needed you to see where it all started, before I built this fake identity. Back when my only job was to see people for who they really were." "And you stopped doing that?" "Got sidetracked. By Marcus, by trying to fit into his world, by thinking I had to be someone else to be worth a damn. And yet here you are again." "I'm trying." "Okay." Luca squared up to her. "You want to know the real reason I'm helping you? Why I showed up at that gala? Why I set the meet with Elaine? Why I still pick up when you call?" Arya just shook her head. "Because the first time we met, you looked exactly like something I'd already lost." The rawest work, the stuff that hits with ice-cold truth, comes from people who haven't had their identity shattered yet. Or from the ones putting the pieces back together. He pointed to the photos. "This is your foundation, not the high society act, not the media puppet. This, the skill of seeing the nobodies and making them unforgettable." Arya's throat tightened up. "I don't know if I can be that person and still win by the world's rules. That's a messed up way to think. You gotta stop seeing them as two different games. An hour later, they were out. Ruth made Arya promise to come back with new material and made Luca swear he wouldn't try to change her. The very idea is insane, Luca had said. Good, because I can find out where you live. That's factually wrong. Give me 5 minutes and a phone book. The ride back was wrapped in a solid silence. The sun was dipping low, painting the sky with orange, purple, and gold. Thank you, Luca said, breaking the quiet. For what? For letting me see that. Most people hide their past from me. They only show me the upgraded version they want to be. Maybe they think you wouldn't get it. Maybe. Or maybe they're scared I'll see the one thing they're trying to bury. Are you seeing something right now? Luca looked her over. Yeah, I'm seeing a player who's tougher than she knows, and whose comeback is going to be epic. Arya's knuckles went white the steering wheel. She couldn't even find the words to reply. They drove on without a sound until they hit the city. After she dropped him at his high-rise, she watched him go inside, then idled for a minute before peeling out. Thanksgiving came and went. Arya spent it with her dad. Just the two of them crushing Chinese food while some random game played on the TV. He didn't ask about Caroline or Marcus, just said he was proud of her, and she knew he meant it. It was enough. The next few weeks were a grind of work, training, and tense calls with her mom. Fights that fixed nothing but kept the drama from boiling over. Texts from Luca were rare, but always hit right when she was about to snap. 2 weeks before Christmas, a blocked number came through. She almost ignored it, but some gut feeling made her pick up. Hello? Arya, it's Caroline. A blast of ice-cold anxiety shot through her. The smart move was to hang up, block her, and delete the memory. But she stayed on the line. What do you want? Caroline's voice was weak, shaky. I had to hear your voice. I know you don't want to talk to me. I know you have to hate me, but I had to try. Try what? To say I'm sorry. I know I said it before, but I don't think I got what it meant, or what I took from you. Arya squeezed her eyes shut. Caroline, Marcus, and I are over. A dead silence hit the line. When? Arya asked. Last week. It wasn't working. It was never going to work. We both knew it. We just didn't want to admit we torched everything for absolutely nothing. Arya expected to feel some kind of win, but all she felt was tired. I'm sorry to hear that, she said, and she actually meant it. You don't have to be. You were right about everything. I was selfish, I was cruel, and I told myself it was love to make it okay. But it wasn't love. It was fear of being alone, and I took the easy way out, even though it wrecked you. Yeah, that's a pretty good summary. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I don't know if I can ever forgive myself, but I had to tell you that I finally see what I did, and the self-hate is off the charts. Arya was sitting at the edge of her bed. What do you want from me, Caroline? Nothing. I don't want anything. I just needed you to know. Roger that. I know. Are you doing okay? My mom said you got a job in New York. I am. I'm getting by. Good. That's good. You deserve it. A long, heavy silence stretched between them. Then, Caroline's voice broke. I miss you. A shot of pure grief hit Arya right in the chest. I miss you too. But that doesn't change what happened. I know, maybe someday, but not now. I get it. Caroline took a shaky breath. Thanks for not hanging up on me. Don't mention it. The line went dead. Arya just sat there, staring at nothing, feeling the weight of it all. This wasn't closure. It wasn't forgiveness. It was just putting facts on the table. And maybe right now, that's all it could be. She shot a text to Luca. Caroline called. And I let her make her apology. Then I told her I wasn't ready to forgive her yet. How's that feel? Empty, lighter, hollow? I'm not sure. That's the standard response. Seriously? Yeah. The road to recovery isn't a straight line. Sometimes it's just feeling completely lost. A tiny, weird smile played on Arya's lips. Since when did you get so deep? The wisdom was always there. You're just now starting to see it. Christmas was a non-event. Arya spent it alone on purpose, not because she had no one. She was editing ghosts, burning her eyes out on the screen as she hammered away on the legacy project, living in that messed up space between broken and whole. Then, on New Year's Eve, the phone blasted through the quiet. It was Luca. "What's your move tonight?" "Nothing. And why's that? You should have moves. I'm cool without them." "Arya." "Luca." A sigh came through the phone. "There's a small get-together, just a few people. You should roll through." "I'm not a party person. This isn't a party. It's a dinner. With people who won't expect an act, who won't get in your business." "Who are they? Friends? Real ones. The kind who've seen me at rock bottom and didn't bail." A heavy silence hung in the air before she answered. "Fine," she caved. "But if I start feeling cornered, I'm out. Deal?" The spot was in a part of the city she'd never been to. When she got there, Luca was already holding court with 5 other people, 2 dudes, 3 women, all his age, laughing like they'd known each other forever. Luca stood up when he saw her coming. "You made it. I gave my word." He ran through the names at the table, names she instantly forgot, but she'd remember their faces. Open, no guards up. The kind of people who ask real questions and actually wait for the answer. They ate. They talked about work, about the city, about that weird-ass anxiety that comes with the blank page of a new year. Nobody even asked for Arya's backstory. No one pried. They just made room for her like she was always part of the crew. Then during dessert, some lady, a Sarah or Sophie, leans in close. "Luca literally never shuts up about you." Arya's head snaps up. "He does." "Constantly. Your creative genius, your insane talent. You get that he never does that, right?" "Ever. So you must be a pretty big deal." Arya glances over at Luca, who's in the middle of some wild debate, waving his hands around. "I don't know about significant," Arya mumbles. "Well, he does, so deal with it." At the stroke of midnight, they hit the street and someone pops a bottle of champagne. They counted down the last seconds, this weird mix of friends and total strangers, and when the year flipped, Arya felt something shift. Not a fix, not an ending, just a change. Luca walks her to her car after. "Thanks for showing up," he says. "Thanks for the invite." "They were totally into you." "How could you possibly tell?" "Because Sarah asked if you were single, and when I said I had no idea, she basically ordered me to find out." A jolt, a glitch in her heartbeat. "And are you trying to find that out right now?" Luca locks eyes with her, a look that was both asking and telling. "I'm not sure, Arya," he said, his voice low. "Are you ready for me?" She thought about it, the hell she'd been through, the woman she was, and the one she was building, and how, for the first time in forever, she wasn't waiting for someone else to tell her she was enough. "Ask me that again in a few months," she shot back. A slow burn smile spreads across Luca's face. "Done. I will." He pulls her into a hug. She hugs him back. When they let go, the air between them was totally different. Nothing was settled, but something was finally on the table. She drove home through empty streets, watching fireworks mess up the sky. She thought of Marcus, of Carolyn, of her parents, all the people who built the woman she had to tear down just to find herself. She thought of Luca, of Ruth, of the New York women who let her capture their rawest moments. She knew recovery wasn't a straight line, that she still woke up pissed off some days, that she missed the girl who didn't know betrayal existed. But mostly she thought that she survived, that she walked into a room of people who wanted to erase her and walked out bigger than ever, that she took the single ugliest moment of her life and used it for rocket fuel instead of letting it burn her to the ground. 3 months later, Elaine calls. The article's going to print next week. I'm sending you a sneak peek. My thanks. Don't thank me. This is all you. You earned every bit of this. The magazine shows up 2 days later. Arya opens it slowly, like a wrong move might make it vanish. And there they were, splashed across 12 glossy pages. The women she photographed, looking raw, real, and powerful. And at the bottom of page 1, in perfect tiny print, photography by Arya Vale, she stared until the letters went blurry. Then she grabbed her phone and called Luca. It's here. I know, I'm looking at it right now. And it's exactly what I knew it would be. I couldn't have done this without you. Wrong. You absolutely could have. It just would have taken longer. A real laugh bursts out of her. You're infuriating. So you keep telling me. I'm serious, though. Thank you. You're welcome. Now stop thanking me and go celebrate, Arya. Oh, any way you want. This moment is yours. Own it. Arya hangs up. She looks at the magazine for a long, long time. Then she gets in her car and drives to her mom's place. Her mother opens the door. Her eyes drop to the magazine in Arya's hand, and she just starts sobbing. I'm so incredibly proud of you, she cried. I know, Arya said. They stood there for a beat before her mom pulled her inside the house. That night, Arya posted a single picture online. Not for clout, she told herself, but as proof that a soul was getting back on track. The comments flooded in, and guess who shows up? The dude who started it all, a guy named Marcus. His comment, I'm sorry I failed to see it, was just confirmation that to him she'd been totally invisible. Arya let her eyes rest on his words for a hot second before hitting delete without a reply. That move was a clean break, the final cut severing her from being just a victim. She had a new story now. Some losses are just the brutal price you pay to find yourself. Fast forward 6 months and Arya is standing in a Brooklyn gallery at her own damn exhibition. The series, now called The Legacy Project, had blown up into a full solo show, her first. Her name was slapped on the wall in huge letters. Luca stood next to her, checking out a photo. You did it, he stated. We did it, she fired back. He shut that down instantly. No, you did it. I just held the door open, he said, locking himself in as the supportive side character. Arya turns to face him, flipping the whole script. You ready for my answer to your question yet? The one he left hanging since New Year's. He goes completely still. Are you? She replies. I think so, then corrects herself. I'm ready to try it if you are. That cool, collected smile Luca always wore just shattered into something real, a crack in his armor designed to pull them closer. Yes, he breathed out. I'm ready. He reached for her hand, and she let him take it. In that moment, Arya felt this insane sense of rightness, a gut feeling she knew came from her, not from him. The exhibition was a smash hit for 6 weeks, getting rave reviews and attracting buyers. There was even talk about a book. Carolyn, another ghost from her past, sent flowers, which Arya just put on a counter and watched die. It was like a silent trophy of her new power, the ability to see something beautiful and its eventual decay with a totally calm, clear eye. Her mom and dad came to the opening, standing together in silent, solid pride in front of her work. On the final night of the show, she stood by herself in the quiet gallery, taking stock of her soul. She thought about the woman she used to be, a person totally dependent on what other people thought, someone defined by one act of betrayal. That version of her was dead, replaced by someone way tougher. Not flawless, but a woman who finally understood that a total catastrophe doesn't mean the story is over. In fact, it was the start of a whole new chapter. Arya killed the lights and walked out into the night, free, for once, from any fear of what was hiding in the dark. She had finally cracked the code of her own suffering. You don't get over trauma by pretending it didn't happen. You get over it by becoming someone the trauma can no longer touch. Arya now saw herself as untouchable, not because her heart was made of stone, but because she knew her own value was no longer up for negotiation. This one change, she realized, was everything.